of how she explains it to you. And so, yeah, I believe in it 100%. And like, listen, law enforcement does it, CIA, FBI, like Homeland Security, all this stuff. And in fact, interesting, somehow it ties back to this case, but she was on Court TV talking about, oh, Karen Reed, I believe, and how she thinks she was telling the truth and she believes that she's innocent. And Krowski was on the next segment. And Krowski said some fighting words to her, just kind of
Man,
basically tearing her down, and just discrediting body language and all that stuff. And I was like, oh no, 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 no. So I tweeted at him, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but I pretty much schooled him and was like, oh, okay, you don't believe in body language, I see. Huh? It's interesting that the every law enforcement agency in the country does, and they take trainings on it, and our Homeland Security, our CIA, our FBI, uh, all do body language training and believe in, all of that stuff. That's interesting. And then he came back with, I'm open to it. Like, okay.
open to it. I'm open to. Okay, dude.
But
Okay,
I was like,
Joe.
yeah, I'm like, you're not gonna discredit, no, no, no. So, but yeah, she's great. So I've taken some of her classes, and that's something that I am always like in the missing persons cases that are on the news. I'm listening to if their story is like coherent, and falls into a certain like smooth category of, or they're just bringing out random things that have nothing to do with the story. Um, so yeah, I love that kind of stuff. That's something I always want to learn more about and participate in if I can. So
My body language, I think, is so revealing. I think people in sales use it too,
yes,
to see if your buyer is receptive, if they're paying attention, if they're interested, what kind of things interest them actually. Because I think it's so obvious for law enforcement to use it because it's this one thing where people generally don't have control of their body
yeah,
like that. They're not aware of it. They're not aware they're doing these things. And it's like they could sit there, they are aware of their words, so they can control their words and lie, but the body is basically saying something else. Law enforcement's going to pick up on that. And I
yeah,
think it's obvious that it's used. Like everybody uses it. I mean, I think every single human being uses it on a daily level. Anytime they encounter someone, we all make these little we make judgments. We make judgments
yes,
on people based on things like body language. If someone's
yes,
very confident or very friendly and nice, we treat them differently than someone who has the body language of someone who's angry or lying or paranoid or scared. You know what I mean? Like this is
exactly.
universal. So
Yeah.
it's funny that such a trained lawyer, he
Oh,
if he's actually done, I don't know what kind of lawyer he really is, but if he's any type of trial lawyer, I think he would probably know something about body language
you
because
would
I think these
think.
guys, yeah, have to present. I mean, you got to have some good body language to present, right?
Yeah, and it was the second time he did that to her. So I was like, you know what? No, I'm tweeting him. Like, no. Yeah, he
Shady,
should know better. He should know better.
shady. I don't like to go after lawyers because they can come around and sue you. But it's kind of
Well,
shady, Joe. Kind of
I
shady.
mean, yeah, I mean, all I was saying was, facts of what law enforcement and all these other, huge departments use body language for. Like, it is a real science. It is so yeah. But yeah, that's funny. But
As Glenn Sue says, I've
oh,
used body language
awesome.
to bluff. Then
Yeah,
I'm a good at. I
she
see. I'm
she's
not a good actor, but that's like Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let us through. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. The stormtrooper just lets him go through. Like,
Glamma must be good at it because she's twisting it and making it like in her in her benefit. I like it.
yeah. I think there's some truth to that. You could kind of blend
Yeah,
in if you have the right body language, but most
yeah,
people aren't trained like that. Most people
true.
aren't cool as a cucumber.
Very true. But yes, Brian Higgins and Albert to me came, especially so when you're a law enforcement agent, you also get um, training for courtroom testimony. So I
Oh,
thought for them to have, extensive training for the courtroom testimony, and to look the way that they did really spoke to, what was going on. So
Do you think they talk about body language in that courtroom testimony class? I'm feeling they'd say,
I think
make
so.
sure
I
your
think they
body
do.
is confident and looks truthful, right?
Because we had courtroom testimony section in the stuff we learned. So, and I know that law enforcement does as well. Like they have to. So yeah, they looked not cool as cucumber.
I guess Joe must have missed that kind of training. I don't know.
Yeah, he wasn't present in that day.
Joe Krosky.